And try this again. What is a synthesis essay and why should I care? So it's the big fish to fry on the AP exam. It's just the largest essay on the exam, okay? It's kind of like a DBQ, except, I'm not going to say harder, it's just a different skill set. It's just different, okay? Because of this, the AP allots you more time than on any other essay. It gives you a full 60 minutes. Now remember, for every other essay, you get 40. Here, you get 45 to write and another 15 to read. Okay? This is supposed to inspire. It's as inspiring as I get, okay? So, what is synthesis? So according to the College Board, the synthesis question asks students to synthesize information from various topic sources to inform their own discussion of the topic. It combines separate elements or substances into a cohesive whole. Okay? It is your ability to analyze, combine, argue. Your synthesis is your ability to analyze, combine, argue. So you're going to evaluate evidence, decide what evidence goes best together, and then make an argument. Again, we don't copy, so you don't need to write those definitions. Okay, what is a synthesis? It's entering what we call the conversation. So, most topics, especially established topics, have what we call a conversation already happening. Best example, best person in basketball. That didn't just start when Kobe and LeBron got in the league. They were like, oh, we should figure out who's the best person ever. Like, no, it's a conversation that's been going on for a while. Wilt the Still, Magic, Bird, Michael Jordan. Now, more recently, Kobe and LeBron have entered the conversation. So you imagine every topic, for example, should we keep the post office, as a room that you are entering into, and people are already talking about that topic. When you're speaking, when you're writing about it, more appropriately, you are writing about a topic that is already being discussed. So you are adding to what is already a conversation. So you don't want to be the person that comes in the conversation and is like, hey guys, oh, you're talking about post office? Yeah, I think the post office is, and they're like, yeah, we talked about that already. Okay, so you imagine in your writing, you're speaking the same way. Or if there's already a conversation going on about the post office, you don't want to explain the post office. That's where we get out of that habit of saying, a blank is blah, 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 and explaining things and defining things. You're entering the conversation. So obviously, everybody who's reading this is also a part of the conversation already. Does that make sense? So you don't go into a conversation about the greatest guy in basketball by explaining, well, let me explain to you what a small forward is. Everybody in the room would be like, yeah, we're basketball fans. We know what a small forward is. Let me explain to you the Lakers versus Celtics dynasty. We all know. Some of us were there. Thanks. That's why we have to get out of the habit of explaining things, like explaining what pathos is, explaining what ethos is. Just talk about it. Stop explaining rhetorical devices to me because you're entering a conversation already in progress. That make more sense? All right. So you have to support your ideas with your sources. So if you have ideas that come from outside the sources, in a DBQ, that's a great thing. Here, not so much. It has to tie into the sources. If it doesn't tie into the sources, don't use it. Okay? Notice how the sources connect to one another. I'll go more into that detail with that later. And then group sources in meaningful ways. I'm going to go more into that later. So, click. What synthesis prompts to expect? Defend, challenge, qualify. This is probably what you're going to get. Defend, challenge, qualify, blank assertion. Or evaluate and consider. The synthesis essay is an argument essay. It's just an argument essay where they give you the sources for your argument. Okay, so meet our contenders. A DBQ on the French and Indian War and a synthesis essay on television and politics around the same time. So I want you to take a minute with a partner and or triad if needed. I want you to look at these two prompts and figure out what is different between the two prompts, okay? What is distinctly different in a DBQ prompt and what's different from a synthesis prompt? So what do you need to pay attention to? Try.
So you can put the number you have in your mind into
Okay, so I'll take 2 volunteers. What are some major differences here? Or I'm going to start picking at random. Okay, Josie?
Analyze, synthesize.
Okay, good pickup. Analyze versus synthesize. Remember, when we do analysis, it's almost pure explanation. It's just going into depth of the why something is happening. Synthesis takes those and puts them together. It shows commonality, okay? So it's not just explication after explication after explication. It's combining knowledge to make an argument. So this is an analysis essay, essentially, and this is an argument essay with analysis traits. Good catch. David?
So the DBQ, it's more of like, you can, it doesn't specifically say to read the sources, but it means that you have to provide outside information. While synthesis essay, it explicitly says to read the following.
Okay. Perfect. So here, it's a broader essay. Like, please bring in your outside sources. I like to call this a box, a very tight box. Okay? It's a cage with a roof and chains and locks, and you're kind of tied down. Okay? This isn't broad at all. It's actually very confining. So you know how I say, think outside the box. Just think outside the box. Don't write outside the box. Write in the box. In the very pretty box with the bow in it. Okay? So, round 2, what are some other differences? DBQ. They'll give you 10 documents. They'll give you 8 documents. They'll give you a lot. You want to do half plus 1 on a DBQ. What we should be focusing on is the synthesis. The synthesis is going to give you 6 or 7 documents. DBQ documents are going to be primary source. Synthesis documents may not be primary source. It might be a blog post written by Tim Bandicoot in Willacoochee, Georgia. If it was published, they can put it in there. Okay? It's op-eds, visuals, facts, statistics, charts. Okay? Remember, you have 15 minutes to read this, which means you have about 2 to 3 minutes per source. Okay? You have 2 to 3 minutes per source. You have 2 to 3 minutes per source. Off record, I know I'm being recorded, but AP doesn't officially say this, but I've noticed a pattern, some other teachers have too. We feel like they do 3 pro, 3 con, and one that you're actually not supposed to use that has nothing to do with anything, a red herring, okay? So, you might have one informational source that's pro, one informational source that's con. Then you're going to get probably an opinion source that's pro, an opinion source that's con, and then you're probably going to get like a visual or chart from each side. And then you're going to have another piece that you're going to waste 3 to 4 minutes reading, trying to figure out what side it's on. And you're going to realize it's not even neutral. It really just doesn't have anything to do with the argument, and the AP wasted your time. Okay? Not always, but occasionally. So, normally I say, don't copy. Right here you should like totally copy this section. Okay? These are the various ways to cite. So you want to copy the parentheticals. So, in the DBQ, you use half the documents plus 1. In the synthesis essay, you use at least 3 documents. At the point at which you have used 2 documents, it is a wrap on your grade. Wrap. If you do not use 3, there it is. It's a wrap. 2s and lowers, okay? Unless like it's the most phenomenal. No, I think they can't even, I don't think they could give you a passing score. Like you'd have to have 8s and 9s on your other 2 essays if you only used 2 sources. So, here you could just cite from like document A, and you can paraphrase. You cannot paraphrase on the synthesis essay. Don't paraphrase. Don't paraphrase. Hey, don't paraphrase. What? Don't paraphrase. Don't paraphrase. Okay? So, it is not an analysis essay, so you can use slightly longer quotes. So now we're in the 7 to 10 word range if we need it. That does not mean quote 3 sentences in a row. No, that's not okay. Never, bruh. But it means we're out of like 3 to 5 words. 10 words or so might be good. Still don't quote more than you need, but you get a little more space. You can use the author's last name. You can use the organization it came from. You can also begin sentences with things like according to, author's name, according to, article, according to, the organization it came from, blah, 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 blah. Those are fine. You can use the source A if there is no author. If there is no author. Don't do this if the author or organization is provided. Okay? Only do this on anonymous sources. And then cite in MLA. Cite, cite, cite. Okay. Background knowledge. Totally required. You should know something about it on the DBQ. You don't have to take notes on DBQ because it's in history class. Synthesis. You don't have to know anything about the topic at all. Like, it would help, but like, first day you see it, you're like, I don't know anything about what a locavore is. What? You could totally get a 9. You could totally get a 9 knowing absolutely nothing about the topic. Not required. Okay? You do not have to bring in outside information on a synthesis essay. If you bring in outside information on a synthesis essay, it has to connect to the inside information. This is the club. It is VIP. It is invite only. You cannot bring your ideas in here unless they know somebody on the list. If they don't know nobody on the list, they cannot get in this essay. Okay? So keep your little outside ideas. Keep your little personal examples over there in the PO club. If they want to get into this club, they need to know one of the sources on the list. Alright? Ladies are poor. They make millions. Alright. Synthesis essay. Hook, conclusion, paragraphs. Okay? You use 3 sources to support your idea. Why might you use more than 3 sources? What do you need the other sources for? Counterclaim and rebuttal. So, in writing a DBQ, you generally group your documents together, right? A, B, and C are alike. I'm going to write one paragraph about them because they're political. D, E, F are economic. They're in another one. And F, G, H are social. So you group them like that. That's not how it works in the synthesis essay. Okay? In a synthesis essay, you need to use each source multiple times in multiple paragraphs, multiple ways, multiple times. So paragraph 1 should be about 1 point, and it should have source 1, 2, 3. Then paragraph 2 should have source 1, 2, 3. Paragraph 3 probably has source 4 and 5 because it's your counterclaim and rebuttal. And then in your rebuttal, you put 1 and 2. Does that make sense? So it's not a group. It is the sources weaved throughout the essay from top to bottom. Okay? So that's why even though you use 3, a good essay uses 4 to 5 sources because it uses the other sources in the counterclaim. Overall skills for success required. Yay, still on time. Okay. So, yeah, those are the things that are required for DBQ. And here we are in synthesis. Okay, these are all writing skills. Defining your argument, constructing an argument, citation, your grammar. This is not a DBQ. Grammar, spelling, capitals, syntax, diction, voice, they matter here. Okay? If you have those things well in a DBQ, they help, but they're not required. Like if you have good enough syntax, but you know a whole lot of history, you can pass a DBQ. On the other hand, if you know a whole lot about locavores, but you write like a 5th grader, you will not pass the synthesis essay. Okay? It is a writing task. We want to know how well you can write. I believe summary. Yep. All right. So those will be on the thing when I post it.